Griffin. And I would like to take the time to say to Professor Israel, turn around. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done and all you taught.
Oh, amen.
I was in this classroom in 2010. And actually, I had a friend, we sat there, and Professor Israel had a big impact on my life because I had never read any novels, any at all. I would go in and read only what I needed to read. But it was said that if you wanted to hide something from them, just put it in a book. God has been good. I learned to write essays in this room, not knowing that this was the foundation. We wrote 32 essays, we read 2 novels, and I had no idea who Toni Morrison was. She actually won a Nobel Peace Prize. The book was The Bluest Eye. That's the one that captured my attention. About a little black girl, African-American girl, who thought she wasn't beautiful. She wanted blonde hair and blue eyes. And coming from her family background, she was never told anything beautiful about her. She was never showed love. And I could imagine how that felt. You know, that her own mother never told her she loved her. And I believe she had a friend named Pecola. Pecola was her friend. Pecola was in a bad situation too because she was molested by her father, you know, who got drunk all the time. But after reading this novel, it kind of, even though I'm a grown lady, it let me know that I'm beautiful inside out. You know, after writing those essays, and her taking her red ink pen is not to hurt any of us. It's to show us where we're making mistakes at so we can correct those mistakes, because further on, I had a professor who taught me how to write a 15-page research paper, and I needed it because this was the foundation right here. Wasn't no going back to get what I should have got when I was here. So today, in my journey, I've graduated from Kennedy King College. I am an alumni, 2013. Yes. And I give it all to that man upstairs and these professors. You know, I give him the glory. You know, it wasn't that I was special, because I come from the streets of Inglewood.
Well, Inglewood.
Yes, Inglewood, 55th and Dane. Yes, proud to say. I'm not supposed to be nothing. They wrote us off.
Yeah, Inglewood.
They wrote us off.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
You know, being here gave me, I'm a single parent. Now, at that time, I had a younger son. He was like maybe 2010. I say he had to have been about 10. The other one, well, he wasn't even 10. He had to have been about 6. And my other son, he had to have been about 14. You know, but being a single mom, the father passed away. When he was alive, he didn't help. I have nothing bad to say about that man, because a man only does what we allow them to do.
Amen.
But coming here, picking that book bag up, told me, you know what? You're determined. And that's what it takes to be a graduate. You got to be determined. You got to study. You know, I had to make myself study. I didn't want to get in class and then here's the exams and I don't know what she's talking about. You know, and here you write essays and other people are reading your essay. So we can make a lot of excuses, but I don't have none today because I threw them out the window when I threw all the rest of that stuff out the window. I'm Phi Theta Kappa. My GPA is 3.7. So remember, I'm from the streets of Inglewood now. Okay? I ain't supposed to be none because at the rate I was going, I wasn't going to be anything. I was supposed to have been in the penitentiary or dead. Because, remember now, I didn't share this with you. I left school after the first semester of 12th grade. And I stayed out of school 23 years. So, during the course of those 23 years, remind you, I left school at 17 for the turn 18. So, along that journey, all that pain, I hit them streets. I became a member of the Black Gangster Disciples. I was the first lady. Okay? The first lady going down here real fast. You know, they told me I had to learn some laws. They told me that if you're a queen, but see, I had a family. I'm not finna sleep with nobody, because this ain't what that's about. But I went down to Statefield Penitentiary and met Hoover. This is the king.
Yeah,
this man is short.
He sure is.
He this short. So you mean to tell me this who I'm serving? Okay, so now we're gonna go into my morals and my values, because see, I got a mother and a father that who has worked. My father was a CTA bus driver for 33 years. My mother worked for Red Cross to the day she retired. Which let me share this with you all. Being at Kennedy King, November the 15th, 2010, my parents' house caught on fire. And my mom and dad was in the house. This is the house we grew up in. So I was here. I took about 5 or 6 biology classes because my major is nursing. So I'm leaving and I get home and I always look at the call ID. Now my oldest son is 22 now, but in 2010 he just freshly went to Iowa, University of Dubuque, and I called him back because I know he's supposed to be in class. But he said, "Mom, where you at?" He done forgot. I know school too. So he says, I'm thinking he said, "Mom, my room on fire." But that ain't what he was saying. He was saying, "Mom, where you at? You got to go over grandma's house. You got to go over there. Grandma's house on fire." So I said, "I'm going to call you back." So all these people that call my number that don't call me. So my best friend called and said, "Delores, I got some news to tell you. I'm trying to get out this door." So she said, "Delores, your parents' house caught on fire, and your mom didn't make it." I said, "You don't know what you're talking about." Now, this is my best friend who I love and I trust. She said, "I'm telling you." So I said, "Okay." She sent her sister to come get me. So I went and picked my youngest son up from school. We get over there, everything is blocked off. That's the main street, 55th, 56, 57, and down. So 57 all the way back to like 58 is blocked off. So we're at the corner. I gets out the car. Someone in the crowd says, "That's the other daughter." So here these cameramen running with their cords, bum rushing me. And I was like, "Stop, wait, stop." I looks at this house that we grew up in, and the windows is out, it's black. We got bricks on there supposed to be gray and white. All of that is black. My brother was in that house in the attic. My father, they tell me he came out like this, which he had my mother by the hand. And when she fell, she had a massive heart attack. He didn't know where she was. He had to get out of there. Now, of course, that doorknob is hot. I'm giving you straight from what my father told me. So she died 20 feet away from the door. So I told them news people. I say, "Y'all not gonna make me look at this like no tragedy. This is no tragedy. This is God's will, not man, be done." I said, "My mother not in that house." And I mean it right now today. My mother is not in that house, and she wasn't in that house because she gave us God. She was gone. She was gone. Yes, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's all that is right there. A shell of her body. But my mother's spirit had already left. The best thing she could have gave us, and it was 5 of us, was God. So I take him. I believe in him, and I had to trust him on this one. So what I did, After the service, I think I stayed at home 4 days. I grabbed my book bag and I came back to school. I came back to school, y'all. Because you know what? We may endure in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And I know my parents would have wanted me to quit school, sit at home, and grieve and mourn. Now, did I tell y'all my father came to deal with me for 9 months? He left the hospital that day. That night, when we were looking at the people board up the house, he was standing there with a white towel over his head with us. He said he had work to do. What work to do? He was retired. The house is gone.
So you keep your child out?
Of course. He's in his house right now. Let me tell y'all, I saw the power of the Lord. I saw his healing. I've seen it. His face was burned. His arm was burned really, really bad from holding that doorknob now. Okay.
Well, I got something to say. Now, you saying that the house caught on fire. And recently, my grandma's house caught on fire, which is my father's mother. And she in a wheelchair. She got one leg. Now, her room is on the main level. And there was other rooms in the lower level. Now, my grandma, she weighed, I want to say 300 and some pounds ever since her accident. And imagine, she's in a wheelchair. They had to carry my grandma out. They barely made it out the house because they had to save my grandma. She's in a room, in the bed. They got to get her out the bed into her wheelchair to take her out. Now, when I found out that the house was on fire, my first thought was that my grandma didn't make it.
Praise God.
And for some reason, my grandma was in a coma in 2001 because she blanked out. She was driving a van. My grandma used to be a bus driver. And she was driving a van and she just blanked out. She had a heart attack and crashed. Now, me and 2 other cousins was in the car with her, 2 other grandkids of hers. Now, the 3 of us survived and nothing happened to us, no bruises or nothing. But my grandma was literally in a coma for like a year and a half, and the doctors kept telling us to pull the plug, like they wanted to pull the plug on my grandma because they didn't think she was going to make it. And for some reason, you know, my dad and his sister and his brothers, you know, they told them, like, don't pull the plug on my mama. And my grandma, one day, all of us was up there, and she just woke up.
Woke up.
Just woke up.
So they let you know that man upstairs touched her body. He opened her eyes. He opened her mind. He made her limbs able to walk. He made her mouth able to talk. I stand before you because I know what you're saying. I saw the healing of the Lord. He used me. God uses people. And it's not by mistake that you all are here. You know, my father, he was so strong after the fire. He came that night. He fell out in the floor, in my floor twice. I called the ambulance. He sent him back out of there. You know, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I have a twin. I said, Denise, he gonna die on me and him. But you know what? I turned my fear into faith.
Come on now.
So that's when I started to really say, okay, God, I'm saying, God, I love you, and I trust you on this. So I would go in my room. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, fix him some breakfast, fix my young son some breakfast, set the medicine on the table. Then I would wash his face with the water. I would wash his arms, you know, and I would put the silverdine on him. Show you how he uses people. I didn't know nothing about no nursing. None of that. Didn't want to be a nurse. But I would banish him, and then I would come to school. Imagine how my day was. But I won't complain. I won't complain. I would get a break and I would go home and check on my father. And then at 2 o'clock, I had Professor Ted Williams. I would go to his class. Then I was done. But I've taken 4 classes at a time, you know, and I stayed determined. I stayed focused. I did my work. It wasn't easy. Nothing is easy. But you know what? It beats being out in that cold-hearted street. You know, those people out there, I should have been somewhere in the white penitentiary for women, but God chose something better for me. He had something better. The reason why those people wanted me to be a leader or anything, because they saw leadership in me, but they wanted me to use it for bad.